Hello, Stitchers. Welcome to Stitch Please, the official podcast of Black Women Stitch, the sewing group where Black Lives Matter. I'm your host, Lisa Woolfork. I'm a fourth-generation sewing enthusiast with more than 20 years of sewing experience. I am looking forward to today's conversation, so sit back, relax, and get ready to get your stitch together. Hey friends, hey, it's Lisa from Black Women Stitch and the Stitch Please podcast. And as I say every week, this is a very special episode because this episode takes us to the northern border of North America, our Canadian cousins right across the way. I am happy to introduce to you all Oge Ajibe. She is a fantastic designer. Her work is so joyful. And I invited her here to talk with us about textiles and tariffs, because Oge is an amazing designer who has beautiful, joyful work that has been kind of held up by tariffs. And as me reporting here from the US, we will soon be learning a lot about tariffs. We are learning about them. I unfortunately already knew about them. But there are people in this country who sadly did not know anything about them and made bad decisions that will affect all of us. But I am happy to welcome Oge to the program. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for joining the Stitch Please podcast today.
Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure to be here speaking to you after connecting on Instagram. So thank you.
I am so excited. It's so funny, y'all. We connected because I am in a group on Clubhouse. Clubhouse is an audio app, and it used to be much better than it is now, but it is still a good way to connect with communities. I connect with the content creators of color there, and I connect with a co-working group of people who like to organize their work by Pomodoros. And so there are people from all over from North America and beyond. And there's this one person there. And I was like, oh, she knows all about the podcast. And I was like, I would love to reach out to more international designers. And she said, hey, I'm in Canada. And I got this gorgeous piece from this young woman named Oge, and she sent me the link, sent me your Insta, and I fell in love. And I was like, I have to talk to her. Thank you so much, Pomodoro friend. Who says nerds don't have great ideas? We certainly do. So this was such a real privilege to have this work out so beautifully. So please tell us, what is your sewing story? Where do you fit in sewing in your family? How did sewing come to you? Or did you go to sewing? Has it always been around, or is it a brand new thing? What is your sewing story?
Oh, wow. My first experience to a sewing machine was growing up. My dad bought a sewing machine. Oh, no, my first experience was my mom was actually a fabric seller. She sold fabrics. So let's not
Ooh,
forget that.
you lived in a fabric store?
Yes. So she used to
What?
sell fabrics, like the African fabrics inside the markets. That's like when I grew up, or like what I saw my mom doing. Even though she left that, I kind of went back to like complete school and all. But that was my first introduction. So fabric was always everywhere. But she didn't know how to sew. My dad kind of bought a
Oh,
sewing machine for her, but she just did not get. She don't. The sewing machine was just there. She didn't use it, and I would always
okay.
go and fickle it, touch it, but I didn't know how to use it. But I just
It's
kept
like,
on looking
well,
at
mom,
it.
if you aren't going to use this sewing machine, I will use it. I am a child.
I
I don't know what I'm doing, but clearly it's available for anyone because you aren't touching it.
I always go like screw things, open things, try to use it, but I never like I just did not like use it or anything. But then I will always like rip off some things and like sew them with like hand. I remember making a skirt with like hand. I don't watch YouTube. I don't know, I just figured something out. But that was
Yes.
that when it came to like my first introduction to fashion. The second thing then was, I think fashion found me. I would always say
Oh,
sewing and clothing gave me the voice I didn't know I had.
I love that.
Going through high school, I wasn't the A student, and unfortunately, I wasn't the B student. I was like the C and the D student. But one
Okay.
thing was for sure, whenever I step into a room, my clothing was loud.
Yes, your clothing was
It
loud.
was, even though
Okay.
it was high school, even though we had limited outfits we could wear, because we had uniform back in Nigeria,
Okay.
everybody's skirt is straight. Mine has a split. Everybody's skirt is straight. Mine have like a pleat. So I was always noticed because of the clothes I wore. So that was my first introduction to like clothing and fashion. Obviously, I didn't explore that apart from like wearing fine clothes and shopping for friends and family. Always being the one to pick clothes. But then coming to Canada, I'm like, this is my opportunity to shine. I came to Canada in 2015. I went to study psychology. I don't know who I thought I was. And after that, I'm like, girl, fashion is your thing. Don't struggle. And I went into fashion school. So, yeah.
Excellent. So you went from coming in 2015
Mm-hmm.
to study psychology,
Mm-hmm.
and you were studying psychology,
Mm.
and then a light bulb clicked and said, how about fashion? Was that a difficult transition to make, to go from psychology studying to studying fashion?
Anyone that knows African parents will know those kind of things, you don't study them in school. They are more of like hobbies. So it was difficult because I went into school without telling anyone. I had enough doubt on myself already, and I didn't want anyone to put any other doubt on me. That's how
Oh,
much struggle
okay.
it was for me at that time. So what I just did was I started working at a retail store. First salary I got, I just went and registered myself into the school. I started the program before I could inform anybody of anything because now I couldn't go back.
Oh my goodness. Like, okay, I'm here, I'm in the program. Now I can tell my parents.
Yes.
I cannot tell my parents before I joined the program because like you said, you already had enough doubts, and they would
Mm.
say, "Yes, good reason to doubt. Do what you said you were going to do."
Yeah.
Did you see this as a way of investing in yourself differently than had you stuck with the psychology? What did you imagine when you were choosing to say, "You know what? I really need to make this choice." How did you imagine this was going to make your life or your work or your creativity better? Because you must have thought that. That's why you changed, right?
Yes, as a teenager then, because I was around like 2021. As a teenager going to adulthood, I think that was the first step. That was the first thing I ever did for myself. So
Interesting.
it just came to a point where I had to choose me. Very young then, I don't know what came over me, but I just couldn't. I'm like, fashion is something I've always thought about. It's something I've always dreamt about, even though you have never sold. But then you know how to style, you know how to wear clothing. But I didn't know where to
Yes.
start. I just didn't know where to place my hand. And fashion school was just the best option to go learn. I just needed to get into the environment that I needed to be
Yes,
at that time.
that is so good, OJ, because what I hear you saying
Mm-hmm.
is that some folks, they're like, you know what, I like this, but I don't know what to do and I don't know how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's too hard. Let me just stick with where I am. And then you're kind of a little bit miserable
Yeah.
for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you said earlier that fashion showed you a voice
Mm-hmm.
that you didn't know you had, can you talk a bit about that? Because it sounds like the beginning of that voice, of listening to it, was saying yes to fashion school. Saying yes to you meant saying yes to fashion school. What other things came through when you decided to say yes to yourself by saying yes to fashion school?
Low self-esteem. I had very low self. I don't think I've ever said this out loud before. I had low self-esteem growing up because obviously being a teenager going through high school, what defined you? I grew up in Nigeria, so Africa a whole different system from here. But what defined you then was your grades. Are you an
Mm,
A student? Are you a B student? At that age, that was the only thing that mattered
okay.
as a kid, right? But I
Mhm.
wasn't an A student. I tried my possible best. But down the line, I discovered I had dyslexia. But that's not what we are getting to now.
Oh.
But yeah, so
And
I
yeah,
wasn't an A
which is
student.
clarifying. It
Mm,
clarifies, like, why this was difficult for you.
yes.
It was you did try, you
Mm,
did your best, you
mm,
did what you were supposed to do, and you were not getting the results.
yeah.
And so I can see how that could be difficult,
Y-
of course.
Yeah. So well, apart from fashion and doing what I love, I my self esteem, like I could find a voice. Like I can. It's not like I wasn't intelligent. I was intelligent, but when it comes to
Yes, of
remembering
course.
and book things, those were different. But one
Yes,
thing was
yes.
for sure: if I stepped into a room, people are necks are turning and they're like, "Wow, how did you come up with that design? Wow, how did you pair that?"
Yes.
So for the
Yes.
first time, I was seen. Like so, my self
Yes.
esteem that was tied towards education and grades, like I could take a break mentally when it comes to clothing. So
Yes.
it changed a lot.
So tell me about fashion school. How was fashion school different from the high school system that
Mm,
you were accustomed to in Nigeria?
yeah. So when I entered into fashion school, I didn't know what to expect. I knew I was going to learn how to sew and pattern making and all those jazz I've read online, but I didn't know what to expect. But I think I went into fashion school in September. As of November 17th, I started a blog. I think what I just wanted was I wanted to be in that environment. Like because nothing
Hmm.
around me was really encouraging me apart from myself. I think I just needed a bit of a push. How did I start? How
Yes.
did I start a blog? I was in a fashion marketing class, and the teacher was talking about different ways you can market your product and all. And what set
Yes.
me apart was fashion school as of then was teaching people how to be workers. I was thinking about how to own my own brand. So when I went into fashion marketing and they said, oh,
Oh.
different ways people can market their own brands is blogging. Right? It was we were in a computer class. Right there and right then, I looked for free website to start a blog, and I just started it
Wow.
immediately.
Immediately, like it's like the class is not even over
Yes.
and your and your blog has begun.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's an interesting point. You said that in fashion school you thought that you were being trained to be a worker rather than being trained to own your own brand.
Yeah.
Why do you think that was set up that way? Why do you believe that that limitation or direction was necessary?
I think there's a whole lot of things. There's obviously a whole lot of things, but one of the things I'm going to address, which I've seen happen to me and my brand, is also when it comes to sizing. Also, in fashion school, there's this standard size. Everybody works
Yes.
to a size 8. And that size 8, thinking
Oof.
about it now, normally is actually a size 6, but they just called it a size 8
Wow.
because I don't know who was fitting into those things we were making.
It's like for a doll person.
So they have this standard of this is the way it's supposed to, and most of the teachers too, they were like workers already. So most of the instance they will give, oh, when you're working for someone, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, which made sense. But I've also looked for job in the fashion industry, even though I didn't know what I was looking for. But I've read all the
Yes.
statistics, and I've also found out that most fashion students don't end up getting jobs in the fashion industry because the people there are not
Mm.
living. So there's just
Wow.
a whole lot of things. So, but then I think it's just the way the syllables. I think it's just the educational system. It builds us for the workforce. I don't know when that
Yes.
started. Obviously, it existed before I was born, but it builds us for the
Mhm.
workforce instead of entrepreneurship.
Hey, friends. Hey, I know you're enjoying the audio version of Stitch Please, and thanks so much for listening. But you're missing out on all the great stuff going on behind the scenes. That's why I'm inviting you to join our Black Women Stitch Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can see all the video versions of the podcast. Plus, you get some amazing swatch cards. You know how much I love these swatch cards. Look, see how cool these are? I Oh wait, you can't see them because you are not yet on the Patreon. So when you join the Patreon, you'll be able to see this me showing you these amazing cards. We also have some great perks at the other tiers, like discounts, swag, office hours, and more. Don't be the last sewist in the group now. Head over to patreon.com/Black Women Stitch or click the link in the show notes and become a Patreon supporter today. We truly cannot do this without you. So thank you so much. Yes. So, and I think you make a good point about size
Mhm,
standardization
mhm,
and the narrowness of size. I am very interested in the way that, at least here on the American side,
mhm.
that the narrowness of size is it means that we've had a movement around size inclusion to expand a size range. And what and this is something I learned from a friend, Leila Kelleher, from Muna and Broad, and I think she was quoting someone else, but it really resonated with me. And she said, it seems that companies hate fat people
Mm-hmm.
more than they love money.
True. Obviously, we can go down how fat phobia is later with racism. We can
Yes, exactly
that
that.
is deep down.
Exactly.
But if we want
It's
to stay on the
absolutely true.
surface level of fat phobia is so rooted in a lot of things. And then when you link it
Mhm.
up with racism, it will make a lot of sense.
It does. Oh my goodness. I just talked about this very thing. There's a lovely book called Fearing the Black Body
Mm,
about the racist origins of
mm,
anti-fatness
mm,
and how it comes directly from colonialism
mm.
and the way that white settlers saw and perceived African
Yeah.
bodies and how that translates even until today. It is a bad scene. And what I love is that plus size designers, plus size sewists have really shaken the industry by
Mm,
creating such amazing, beautiful, and in your case, joyful designs with without these limitations,
yes.
without this laziness on
Yes.
behalf of fashion houses. And one of the things I'm especially interested in, and we don't have to talk too much about this because I definitely want to hear more about your work and your brands,
Yeah.
but something I always appreciated when I've talked with Nigerian sewists and other sewists from the continent is how they have been trained to sew from body measurements. Like the tailors will measure your body, they measure all of these elements, they put them down, they track them down onto the block. So you end up getting a garment that is made for you rather than like how we learn in the United States, everything is based on a pattern. You
Mm-hmm.
learn to read a pattern. And if your body doesn't fit into those absurd measurements sometimes, or like my body is, my chest is in one,
Yeah.
my waist and hips are in another,
Mm.
you have to do all these modifications when I think the better way is just to fit it to who you are. And so that's something that I wonder if you were able to think about that in fashion school or in building your own brand as an entrepreneur, building your brand. How did you think about being more size inclusive than you were taught to be in fashion school?
Yeah, so when it comes to size inclusiveness in school, I don't know if things have changed. I'm talking like way back 2017, 18, they weren't. But yeah, it wasn't a thing back then. I had a situation where we did a skirt pattern, size 8 skirt pattern, and my teacher was actually a plus size lady on the heavier side. And um, so after that, she corrected some of my work. So as the class was ending, I'm like, big question. If I want to make this to fit my bum, how do I do it? She was shocked. Like you could see the surprise on her face.
She was shocked.
Yes, I
What?
didn't
How?
get it. The fact I'm asking like how am I go she was happy to help, but she was surprised that a student was asking that. I'm like, I have to also make my own clothing. It's not really
Yes.
all of us are
Yes.
not here just to end up at I don't know, even though it was a
Oh,
full program, degree program, that makes sense. But like I also want to make my own thing. So she was like,
yes.
okay, she was like, oh, you can do slash and spread for the ball and
Yes.
increase. So she kind of taught me, but it wasn't something she told you the whole class.
It was not on the curriculum, it
No,
was not in the syllabus, and
no,
she herself is a plus size person,
yes.
but never thought about modifying what she was teaching to even fit herself. The idea that she was shocked that you were asking how to make this beyond a fake size 8 into a size for someone with a bum.
Yes,
Like,
it's
it I
crazy.
that is so startling,
Yeah.
but the good news is you did learn, but
Mm,
it's really interesting that somehow you have to, like, find it on the fly
mm,
or do it extracurricularly,
yeah.
because I do believe and I was reading something in a fashion studies journal that there are like no programs that specialize in plus size. Now there is one.
Mm-hmm.
Parsons School of Design has one that's led by Leila Kelleher, and it's called the Fat Fashion Lab,
Okay.
and she is leading that, but she is the one that is doing it,
That's
you
good.
know.
Yeah.
And she designs patterns for plus size folks at the larger end of the size chart, and these are really like beautiful, wonderful garments, and she thinks about honoring the body you have. And I just feel like one of the things that gets missing, I believe, in the conversation about training as a professional
Yeah.
in only a size 8
Mm.
is so limiting,
Yeah. Super.
especially when, like, I think it's like 41% of American women are a size 16, and, like, it's just I don't know, it's that kind of it's exclusive,
Yes.
sure, exclusive,
Mm.
but it also feels unkind.
Yeah. It is.
It feels unkind.
It's.
It just feels like it's telling a story that your body is not worthy of all that I am training to do,
Mm.
and that is unkind.
It is. It is. I actually had a project I did. I think it's called realism. Realism. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong. Realism. And it was more of like photographing or showing something just the way it is. I
Yes.
did that as a project, and my the project was full of like um different women with like different body figures, like Rose
Yes.
Slim. I had like
Yes.
Selena Williams. There's this photo where she was pressing against the wall with no bra
Yes.
on, but her boobs were like facing the wall with
Yes.
so much strength.
Yes.
And I presented the project, and my teacher was like, "Oh, like this is going to be your last project. What kind of collection are you looking to do?" I'm like, "Plus size." She was like, "Plus size?" I'm like, "Yes, plus size." She was like, "Oh, unfortunately for your last project, school can provide you plus size models. You have to bring your own plus size models. We only provide size 8."
We only provide size
So you
8.
see where this limitation starts. They don't just start when I want to become a designer. They start from the roots when you go to learn.
Yes, you said it, the root. The idea that yes, we provide models, but only in this size.
Mm.
As if you cannot find a model that's a size 16. Like there are like come on. Okay, well, we are going to I'm going to stop there because I want to talk about the fabric that you have been looking for your amazing collection.
Yes.
And you shared something about tariffs and delays and all of this to try to get this fabric that you have loved and that it's been really important for some of the pieces, the blouses that you've been making. And what is the story of that textiles and how did tariffs get in the way?
So I think the whole threat of tariff have been a lot on Canadian businesses. A lot. If not for anything, the past few years, a lot of businesses in general have been struggling. A lot of people have been closing down, downsizing. Canadian business because of high expense of living, housing, inflation. It's just been a lot already. And I think the
Okay.
threat of the tariff on, tariff off has have like is more of like an extra thing that currently small businesses don't need.
Mm.
You understand? Like these are like
It's just
okay.
an extra burden. It's already difficult. You are struggling to pay rent, pay your employees, get your materials, cost of living is high, inflation is high, and now here come the tariffs on the textiles. What do you want from us?
I know, like it's just so crazy. And also for someone who 30% of her clients are in the States. So it just makes you think a lot. It makes you do a lot of calculation. And also Canada, we manufacture what we can manufacture, but we are not there with the fabric. Especially we might be there with the fabric to some certain fabrics like bamboo and rib, which is nice. But for me that
Yes.
use a lot of colorful prints, rayon
Yes.
viscose is very, 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 very rare to come by here. You understand? So most of this fabric
Wow.
have to be imported by the warehouse where I order them from.
Okay.
So
Okay.
all those numbers add up. Custom fee, shipping fee, the weight, the stress of the tariff, and what businesses are also doing now, even though the tariff is certain or is not certain, they're already upping their price so they can be ready when anything happens. We are already
Oh,
struggling a lot. You understand? So it's
wow.
been more of like an emotional stress on a lot of small businesses. And I've had a lot of acquaintance in businesses that have ended up closing early this year, because it's
Oh,
not because they don't want to keep on. It's just that it's just a whole lot going on, and a lot of them, their mental health is going down. Like, it's nowhere to be found.
yes, yes, yes. I hear what you're saying. The kind of the way that you said the numbers add up,
Mm,
and then the stresses also add up. So that is a lot to hold on to. And you said 30% of your clients are from the US, and that's another thing to think about. What advice or suggestions or what ways can we as Americans support your work? How can we support? How can we help you get seen? How can we help you do the things you need to do to thrive in this challenging economic situation far beyond either of our control, but maybe there's something we can do.
yeah, I think apart from the shopping aspects, which everybody knows that's one of the main ways, but then another way you can support is sharing our work. You don't know who is watching. Just like the way I got on your podcast and I'm speaking to you. That was because an amazing soul mentioned me. Like, you
Yes.
don't, you might not have the cash to support. Share our work, post our work, share it to your networks, in your network, like magazines, videos, like anywhere you can mention us, share it to your friends. And
Yes.
if you like, that's one way that's not going to cost anybody anything. And when it gets to the
Yes.
right person, it's definitely going to help, like the way it got to you. And you have something to
Yes.
offer, which is bringing me on this wonderful podcast. And I love how both of us are wearing prints.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes. So
It was meant to be.
it's
It
like
was meant
sisters
to
that
be.
have been waiting to meet each other.
Exactly, exactly. Canadian cousins by way of Virginia and Nigeria.
Yes.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Now,
So
before we go, I want to show this gorgeous image of you and this joyful you all have to see the joy in her work. This jumpsuit is just beyond perfect. I just love it. Tell us about this. This is an image of, well, you describe the image as you see it.
so the image, it brings so much joy to me. Why? Because as a business owner, unfortunately, we don't laugh enough. We don't
We
smile.
don't.
So whenever we smile, we appreciate it. And this photo was taken by an amazing friend of mine. Her name is Rachel on Instagram. She's a photographer. And
Awesome.
I think this image just shows how happy I am when it comes to clothing. Even though I made this clothes like a few hours before the photo shoot, we're not talking about that. But
What?
yes, I did.
Oh my
Yes, I did.
gosh. It is so, y'all, this jumpsuit, it is a long sleeve, long pant jumpsuit with a beautiful low cut front bodice, almost like a princess style, the way that it's kind of holding around the breasts and
Yes.
shoulders. Gorgeous capacity statement sleeve, and her smile is just lighting up this gorgeous rich forest, and she just looks like she's having the time of her life. And
Yeah.
there's no way I would have guessed that you made that 3 hours
No, I
before
did.
you took the
I
photo.
no
Listen,
jokes. I
I
did.
would be laughing too. If I had done that, I'd be like, "Look at how great I did. Do you see this? This did
Yeah.
not even exist
Yeah.
3 hours ago, and
Mm.
here it is."
Hmm.
And it's just so beautiful. What does this design say about your style and the kinds of ways you like to create?
Colors, freedom, comfort, joy, happiness. Like
Yes.
the sleeve, like the freedom it gives you. You understand? Yeah. So I think
Yes.
for me, it's just all about. I want when people wear my clothes or even wear any clothing that they love, there should be a shift in your mood, no matter how you are feeling. Your clothes should be your clothing, obviously not all of them, but the few, they should be able to add a bit of joy to you. And I know there is a theory between wearing colors and also helping with depression. So I try my
Yes.
possible best to bring that together. When you go on my page, all you're seeing is me and my models laughing and smiling. You understand?
Yes.
Just a breath of
Yes.
a lot is happening in the world already. It's a breath of
Yes, it
fresh
is.
air when it comes to your clothing. I think I'm just
Yes.
playing my little part in this world, and also including plus size folks in
Yes.
there
Yes.
because
And that is such it's so beautiful. It's such a powerful reminder. And
mm,
this image, just like your work in general, is a breath of fresh air.
mm,
So thank you for that.
thank
Now
you.
tell us at the end of April, you have a fun event coming up. Can you tell us about what that's going to be?
Okay, so obviously with this my line of business and all, I figured out that a lot of people still don't know how to thread a sewing machine.
True.
So I'm planning on hosting like an online, also in person, but currently I'll just talk about the online sewing class. So it's just going to be for a couple of days. Let's just learn how to thread a sewing machine.
Okay. If you are a brand new beginner and you have not thought about it before,
Mm,
or you bought a sewing machine at the pandemic but got too busy and never learned how to thread it, take it out of the box
yeah.
and you can sit with OG
Mhm.
and she will show you how to thread it and make something great.
That's just like no stress. Like don't overthink it. Let's just probably have some less alcohol cocktail by the side, laugh on Zoom,
Just to
just
relax. Yes,
relax
right. That's right.
and thread a
Relax.
machine and probably mend the clothes and yeah, that's what I'm
Oh,
planning to do.
oh, that's so beautiful. Well, please, please share the information with
I
us. We
will.
will put the links to that in the show notes so people can join on Zoom if they're not able to come in person. But we are about to wrap up, and I have to ask you our last question,
Mhm.
and it is this. The slogan of the Stitch Please podcast is that we will help you get your stitch together. Oge Ajibe, a designer, creative, sewist, talent of extraordinaire, creator of joyful garments. What advice do you have for us to help us get our stitch together?
Just do it.
Yes.
As so as we have
Yeah.
a pile of fabric, we have a pile of patterns we want to work on. Just calm down and just do it. Like just do what you can do. Because I know so as our brain is everywhere. Oh my god.
Yes.
Just
A
take it
million
easy.
tabs open.
Yes, take it easy and do what you can do. Don't overstress yourself. Don't be like me that make my clothes like few hours before my events. I'll probably stop buying fabrics to have enough fabrics. But yeah, but just do it and keep sewing, keep stitching. There's
Yes.
a lot
Oh,
of joy in it. Apart from making money and doing business out of it, it fulfills something in you.
yes. Thank you. That is such beautiful advice. Now tell us where we can find you on the socials.
Okay, so you can find me online at Oge Ajibe, which is OGEAJIBE, which is where my business is at. You can actually find me on OG's Stitches. It's like where I share like
Okay.
sewing things and like a little bit of fabrics I want to get rid of. I have them on there.
Oh,
So
great. Okay.
so those are the two places you can find my work.
Excellent. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. This has been a real pleasure. Thank you. You've been listening to Stitch Please, the official podcast of Black Women Stitch, the sewing group where Black Lives Matter. We appreciate you joining us this week and every week for stories that center Black women, girls, and femmes in sewing. We invite you to join the Black Women Stitch Patreon community with giving levels beginning at $5 a month. Your contributions help us bring the Stitch Please podcast to you every week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. And come back next week and we'll help you get your stitch together.